Hey everybody, welcome back to the Epic Flight Academy. Today we want to talk about Sid. Oh, hey, Uncle Sid, how you doing?
Oh wow, this is so flattering. I'm honored you want to make a video about...
No.
Wait, what?
No, that's not the Sid we're talking about. We're not talking about Uncle Sid. We want to talk about the standard instrument departure. The goal of the standard instrument departure is to reduce ATC and pilot workload while providing a seamless transition to the en route structure. That's right, folks. We're back at the Epic Flight Academy. This is the instrument rating course, and I'm your host, Mike Thompson. Man, are we glad you're here watching these videos. But remember, these videos are only part of what you need to do to be successful in the course. First off, you want to be studying Epic's online instrument course. And then secondly, watch these videos in parallel to that course. And of course, you're going to want to review all of this content one-on-one with your flight instructor. Now, when we talk about your instrument rating, you're already very familiar with the Instrument Flying Handbook. The other instrument textbook you're going to want to get to know is the Instrument Procedures Handbook. Review both of these with your flight instructor. In the Instrument Procedures Handbook, we will find SIDS in Chapter 1, page 26. And again, the primary goal of the SID is to reduce ATC pilot workload while providing a transition to the en route structure. I want you to try to imagine back, 10, 20 years ago, when pilots were departing the airport for the en route structure. It was very common for ATC to give those pilots every change in altitude, every change in heading. And remember, there weren't as many aircraft in the system as there is today. Today, with all of these aircraft, try to imagine ATC trying to give all of these heading, altitude, and speed changes to all these variety of aircraft departing for the en route structure. Well, that can get very complicated. Communication can get very congested, and worst case scenario, lead to some errors. This led to the advent of the Standard Instrument Departure Route, or we call it the SID, or SIDS for short. Now, note that while SIDS do ensure obstacle clearance, they may exist entirely for other reasons. There may not even be any obstacle clearance requirements, but the SIDS are still in place to increase the efficiency and the smooth transition of aircraft to the en route structure. So what is it about SIDS that's important for me to know as a soon-to-be rated instrument pilot? Well, first of all, in order to fly a SID, I must receive a clearance to fly that standard instrument departure. Secondly, these SIDS may be assigned when receiving my instrument clearance. And thirdly, once I accept it as the pilot, I must then comply with that SID, which means, of course, fourthly, I must possess the charted SID. Now, let's take a look at this graphic, and I want to walk you through some of the basic parts of the SID. Starting in the upper left, we see the procedure name and filing code. As we circle around clockwise, in the margin we can see the valid period for the SID. As we come around to the bottom left, notice we are pointing to the textual description of the procedure from each runway. And then in the top of that textual procedure box, still near the bottom left-hand portion of the SID chart, do you see that black triangle? Do you remember what that stood for? We talked about that in a previous video. Be sure to review that with your instructor. As we work our way up the left, you see takeoff minimums. Oh, even though we are Part 91, we may want to still use the standard minimums defined in FAR 91.175. Now, let's take a look at the top left. We're going to work our way around clockwise. In the top left, we see the top altitude. Now, this aids in pilot planning because it shows us the highest altitude for that procedure. As we work our way around, we see notes that will indicate if the procedure is for specific types of aircraft or if there are certain equipment requirements, such as, in our example, radar required. Now, as you work your way around clockwise, again, we're at the bottom of the chart, and we see the route descriptions. I want you to practice reading these on your own and with your instructor. As you work your way clockwise up over to the left, we can see the bolded line indicates the official procedure. Well, folks, that wraps up what we call the Standard Instrument Departure, or SID for, wait a minute, no, not Uncle Sid. We call it SID for short. Folks, that wraps up the Standard Instrument Departure. We'll see you next time.